How can you say the Bible is any different from any other book of myths about any other religion?
Good question. When you read the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you will notice they do not have the literary style of mythology. Instead, they have the literary style of historical narrative.
What would you say the literary style of mythology is?
The literary style of mythology has to do with not too concerned about time, not too concerned about physical location. Instead, it's highly imaginative. That's mythology. Historical narrative is concerned about time, place, who were the people around to witness this event take place. And when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you'll notice that's the literary style employed by them. But when you read the Vedas and Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita of Hinduism, you're confronted by mythology. No problem. I have no problem with mythology. You can communicate truth through myth. But let's be honest, it's not an historical claim, the avatars of Hinduism.
So you view the Bible as a historical text?
Well, that's what it clearly claims to be.
Oh, okay.
It clearly claims to be an historical text, as does the Quran. And the evidence is the Quran is a very reliable presentation of what Muhammad taught. And if anybody's going to come up to me and say, Muhammad was a myth, I'm going to have to look them in the face and say, I'm sorry. Muhammad was not a myth. He was a man who lived from 570 to approximately 632 AD. And he's not a myth. He's an historical space-time person. And the Quran is a very careful record of what he taught. Does that make sense?
I just don't understand what you came out here and what you're trying to do. What are you trying to accomplish?
I am trying to introduce you to the closest friend I have, Jesus Christ. I am trying to introduce you to the closest friend I have, Jesus Christ. Why?
I was raised Methodist for 16 years. I have been close with that. And what education have you?
What education do I have?
Yes, sir.
Well, I got a Bachelor of Arts from Davidson College in North Carolina. I got a Master of Divinity from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. Not that that means anything, right? I mean, who gives a rip about my education, really? But you asked, so I answered you. But you see, ma'am, I'm not standing out here saying the reason you should believe in Jesus is because I do. I think you'd be a fool to believe in Jesus because I do. Rather, the reason to believe in Jesus is because you've read the Gospels, you've seen that the evidence is he is reliable in a way that none of the options are. That's why putting your faith in him is so wise. So, ma'am, like it or not, you have faith. You're living for something or someone. Now, ask yourself, what's the evidence that what I'm living for is true, is reliable? Let me give you some options. Maybe you're living for your intellect, your rational powers. Okay? And there's some evidence that you better trust your reason. That's good. But to put your ultimate faith in your rational powers, in light of how many mistakes I've made rationally, in light of the fact that my mind could easily be hit with dementia or Alzheimer's, in light of the fact that my mind will definitely die one day and be over and gone, gosh, I don't think that ultimately I should trust my mind. Why do I get an education? Because I need to grow my mind. Because there are other people who are more intelligent than I am. And that's why I get an education, to develop this mind. To put my faith ultimately in my mind in light of how many mistakes I've made, I don't think that'd be very wise.
What about in light of how many mistakes religion has made? How can you believe in something that has the Holy Crusade, that has its justification for so many different types of racism, so many different types of prejudice, so many different... How can you put faith in something, in a system like that?
Very good, ma'am. I respect you. We're right on the same page. If I was standing out here saying, put your faith in Christianity, you should say to me, time out. In light of the Crusades, the Inquisition, the Salem witch trials, in light of how many white Christians enslaved blacks in America, you gotta be kidding me. And you'd be absolutely right. I'm telling you that if you put your faith in Christianity, you're making a big mistake. But if you put your faith in Jesus Christ, that's radically different. For Christ never called for the Crusades, the Inquisition, the Salem witch trials, or slavery. Instead, Christ called for us to love God and to love each other with our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Christ attacked racism in his best-known parable, the parable of the Good Samaritan in Luke 10. A Samaritan helped a Jew, and there was all types of racial tension between Jews and Samaritans. So you're absolutely right. To put your faith in Christianity is foolish.
How can you distinguish Jesus Christ from Christianity when the story of what Jesus Christ supposedly is spread through what Christianity is as a religion? How can you distinguish between those two?
Good. By having the intellectual open-mindedness and honesty to go to the source documents, the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Find out, what did the eyewitnesses hear Christ say? What did they see him do? Get a good understanding of who Christ is, and then either reject him because the evidence is he's a liar, or put your faith in him because the evidence is he's true. Go to the source documents. Let me give you one quick example. I was hiking on the Appalachian Trail with my wife. Suddenly a man started walking behind us. We fell into conversation and I asked him, "What do you think about Muhammad?" He said, "All I need to know about Muhammad is 9/11. That's narrow-minded bigotry. Just because some jihadists fly jets into the World Trade Center in Manhattan tells you nothing about Muhammad. Tells you a lot about those jihadists. If I'm going to be open-minded and honest and find out about Muhammad, I got to go to the Quran, the source document. And I've got to read, what did Muhammad teach? How did he treat people? Is the evidence that he's reliable? Or is the evidence that he's not reliable? Same thing with Jesus. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, sir. I get that you have a logical reasoned argument for this, but I just don't agree with it.
Okay, good. That's fair enough. But why?
I at least appreciate.
Why?
I've spent my time growing up in a Methodist church my whole life, and by the time I went on mission trips. I got to be about a junior in high school,
right.
And the more I thought about it, the more I thought this logically religion does not make sense. And as soon as I thought that, everything about it collapses. This idea of a higher deity, it's starting to be proven that creation is possible, the creation of the universe, it's possible to have come from nothing as a result of dark matter. I'm not gonna pretend like I know, but I was reading about that. This idea of religion, why are we any different from apes or monkeys? Why do we have a religion that we need to explain the creation of the world? I appreciate that you're well-reasoned and logical, but I just can't agree.
Fine, I respect that.
What I believe.
I respect that, but ma'am, listen to what you're saying. Because you're reminding me of some scary people called conservative, narrow-minded Christians. Don't go that way, ma'am. Instead, think. And you got to think logically, you got to think clearly. So you better know why you have chosen another view of reality than Jesus Christ's view of reality. You better be able to explain logically if you claim to be a logical thinking person. If you say to me, the reason that I can't accept Christ is because when I began to think about it, it didn't make sense. Fine, I respect that. But if you're going to say that, then it means you're committed to thinking. You're committed to a system of thinking that makes sense. So you'd better be able to provide the other system that's better than Christ.
In what way is Jesus Christ any more real than Athena or Zeus or Poseidon? In what way is he any more real than Siddhartha or any prophet, any mythology, any story like that? Why is Christianity the one that's true?
You bet.
That's what I don't understand. Any Indian myth, any Native American, any Mexican story, anything like that has to do with religion and creation. I see no logical reason for why one is better than the other. It's just all an explanation. Same pattern, a group of people that don't understand the world. They have a creation myth and a god and a deity and someone who worships to give their life meaning. And I can't follow that.
Okay, ma'am, you're living your life on faith. I'm living my life on faith. Meaning by that, the basic issues of what's the purpose of life? Why are you and I valuable as human beings? What is right? What is wrong? Our ethical system. And do we have hope for life after death or not? All of those issues. You have to answer because you're a living human being. I have to answer because I'm a living human being. None of us can prove that our answers are true. But because we're rational people, we better have evidence that what we are living for is true. And if you present me with evidence that an option to Christ is better than Christ, I better be humble enough and smart enough to reject Christ and to follow the option. Similarly, if I can show you that the evidence for Christ is superior to the evidence that supports whatever it is you're living for, and I obviously don't know what you're living for because you've not told me, then you better be willing to say, you know something? I think I jumped too fast in rejecting Christ. I think I better go back and not consider Methodism in the Methodist Church. Instead, I better go back to the Gospels, the source documents, and read about Jesus. What did he teach? How did he live? How did he die? Did he rise from the dead or not? Does that make sense?
Okay, but are you asking us to, look for the evidence and believe in the evidence, but you're also telling us to, base this off faith? And, those are two different things. If you have faith, then why look at the evidence? When you have the evidence, then why the faith? You're kind of contradicting yourself within that faith.
Very good. Can I prove to you that he's standing here? No. I can't prove to you that my eyesight is perceiving reality. You can't prove to me that your eyesight picks up reality. Okay? So I can't prove to you that he's standing here. Right about now, I have to decide. Does the evidence show me that he's standing here? Yes, it does. Therefore, my fist had better stop right there. Can I prove to you that my taste buds are telling me the truth when I drink sour milk? No, I can't prove it, but the overwhelming evidence is my taste buds do tell me whether the milk is sour or not. That is why when I drink sour milk, I spit it out, because my taste buds tell me not good milk, sour milk. So, sir, the whole idea that a human being bases their life on proof is a lie. Hopefully, though, as thinking human beings, we don't jettison our minds just because we can't prove something. Instead, we look for evidence. Sir, my brother transplants kidneys and livers at Duke University. He is a very highly trained, talented scientist. He has the honesty to point out the vast majority of my research is not based on proof. It's based on evidence. The papers that I write that are published are based not on proof, they're based on evidence. So the question is, what are you living for, and what's the evidence that what you are living for is true, whatever it is? That's what I'm pleading for you to do. Does that make sense?
I mean, it did until you started talking about proof and evidence, because proof is evidence. And you're talking about those are the two different stuff. I'm talking about evidence and faith. Because if you have evidence, you don't need faith.
You bet. Let me define it. If I can prove something, it means I can show you there's no other alternative possible. This is proven. No other alternative possible. I can't do that. There's always an alternative that's possible. All right? That's the way my mind works. I observe reality. Be it history, science, psychology. To prove something, for me, is impossible. Now, within a neat mathematical equation, can I prove to you that 2 plus 2 equals 4 and not 5 and not 3? Yes, sir, I can. Can I prove to you that the law of gravity works 100 times out of 100? Yes, sir, I can. Right? But even that, epistemologically, in terms of the theory of knowledge, you got to be real careful with. Why? Because of Einstein's theory of relativity. What you see is contradicted by that theory of relativity. So if you say, well, my proof is based on what I can see, be careful. Is light wave or particle? It's both. Well, how can it be both? Pretty hard thing to wrap your mind around. So just be careful with this idea of proof. It's really perverted in our culture. That is why I lean towards saying evidence. The evidence is that if you go to the top of that building and jump, you're going to hit the ground 100 times out of 100. It's a natural law. Is it possible at some time in some way that a person could jump off that building and not hit the ground? Well, sure, it's possible, but it's so improbable that I can't accept it. See, so for me, knowledge comes down to evidence, not proof. What's the evidence? And that's good science. Sir, do you think that if Texas State University is here 100 years from now, they're going to be teaching the same thing in biology class that they're teaching you today? Sir, if they are teaching the same thing in biology class 100 years from now that they're teaching you today, this place will go out of existence.
They were teaching natural selection 100 years ago in every respected university across the world. So certain things don't change with time when certain facts have been established. Facts like evolution, they don't change. Our understanding of the details only changes. Our clarity of the subject is what changes, not the actual facts themselves. So when you talk about evidence-based discovery, over time you're falsifying theories that are being, or hypotheses that are being posited forward. And over time, our collective understanding of the facts of reality become more factual, more aligned with reality. It's our collective agreement on what the facts are as established by evidence. That is how we come to understand the universe around us. The only reason we know that you're going to hit him or that somebody's going to hit the ground is because as a society we've all agreed. We all agree that our observations line up with reality. I can't prove to you anything like you've said, but we can agree on what the evidence shows us.
Good.
And the evidence shows us that natural selection is a fact, right? Natural selection, evolution, genetics, these are all facts of reality. They haven't changed for 100 years. They've only been clarified. So, I mean, you have to really confront that. I mean, if you're talking about arguing in good faith from an evidence-based standpoint and being objective, you have to confront the fact that science directly contradicts a lot of what the Bible and including the New Testament speaks of. So that's what I have to say on that.
In the 1960s, Arno Penzias discovered the Big Bang. 1960s. I can promise you, ladies and gentlemen, that radically changed the study of astronomy, the study of the age of the universe. In the 1960s, due to the expanding universe, discovering that, due to background noise, Arno Penzias won a Nobel Prize for nailing down the Big Bang Theory. I can promise you, sir, science had better be a continuing process of changing one's understanding of the universe based on new evidence. My brother does research in transplantation at Duke University over in North Carolina. I can promise you, sir, he is consistently going back to presuppositions, questioning them, looking at new evidence, putting together new theories, making new discoveries to help the human body not reject a new kidney or a new liver that's been transplanted into them. Science is a continuing study of learning more and more accurate truth about reality. If you think that science is some static thing that just remains the same for thousands of years, I feel sorry for you. It's my only point. I never said that science has shown that the law of gravity doesn't work. It's not my point. My point is science is a continuing study, growing knowledge of physical reality. And it better be changing because we don't have it all right now. And if you think we have a cure for cancer right now, you're really whistling Dixie. So we better do good science and discover why do these cancer cells proliferate. We better grow with medicine, with science.